Welcome to Sew Bliss. Today I'm going to start a 3-part series on how to make 3 different hats. Today I'm going to show you how to make this beanie. The supplies that you're going to need are, first you're going to need some knit fabric. Make sure that the stretch is going to go around your head. Then you're going to need some paper to make your pattern. And then all of your basic sewing supplies. So let's get started. Now our first step is going to be making the pattern. And to do that, we need to find the circumference of our head. Now the circumference of my head was 23 inches, so to make the pattern I divided that in half and got 11.5 inches. Now you don't want the pattern to be the exact circumference of your head, and the fabric you're using should have some stretch to it, so it's meant to stretch and fit a little more snugly on your head. So the fabric I'm using is this knit fabric, and it doesn't have a great amount of stretch, but it does have a little bit. So because of that, I'm going to make the pattern for the hat a little bit closer to my head size. Now if this fabric was extremely stretchy, I would want to make the measurement smaller so that way the stretch fits better on my head. So for my pattern, I'm going to make it 10 inches wide. So to start my pattern, I marked 10 inches along the bottom to get my reference, and then I figured out how tall I wanted my hat. And I decided I wanted it 10 inches tall. You can go taller if you want more of a slouch, or shorter if you have a smaller head, or if you're making it for a child. So then I measured up 10 inches, and I also marked both of my sides. So there's one marking and there's one marking that's 10 inches across that you can see right here. And then I found the middle, which is 5 inches from this point to this point, and I marked that. Then I came back to my bottom point, and I just freehanded this all the way up, and I marked an inch over from my middle marking. So I marked an inch over and went to that point. And I just made it a nice curve all the way up to that point. And then I came to the middle, but I went down an inch. So that way we don't have a pointy head in the back. So I will cut this part out, and I'm actually just going to mirror it over onto this side, so that way both sides are exactly the same. Now before I cut my pattern piece out, I'm actually going to add a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to take my seam gauge and I'm going to line it up over here, 1/2 inch out from the line I drew, and I'm going to draw another line. So I'm just going to go along and mark 1/2 inch out, and this way all the way around the hat we'll have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now once you've done both sides to your pattern, you're then ready to cut out your fabric. And like I said before, I'm going to be cutting out 4 pieces because I like my hat to be a little bit thicker, but if you just want a thin hat or have a thicker fabric, you can just cut out 2 pieces. And you also want to make sure that the stretch of your fabric is going to be going around your head. Now once I have all 4 pieces cut out, I'm then going to take 2 of them and turn them right sides together, just like this. And then I'm going to sew right along this straight edge. And I'm going to be using a serger. If you don't have a serger, you can use your sewing machine. Just make sure you're using a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch. That'll help it so that when the hat stretches around your head, the threads won't break. They'll actually stretch with the hat. Now once this seam is sewn, I'm then going to open it up to the right sides out, and I'm going to finger press this down so it just has a nice edge. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this V right here. So I'm just going to fold this over and match those edges up so it has a straight line, and I'm just going to sew from this point up to this point, and I'm going to do that on both of my pieces. Now once those triangles are sewn, your fabric will then start to curve just like this. So here I have both of my pieces. This one I have the wrong side, so the wrong side is going to be the part with that seam. I have that on the inside, and here I have the wrong side on the outside. And I'm going to match up the right sides. So just match these seams. Just tuck that one inside, and I'm matching those seams up. And you want to make sure they align, so probably stick a pin there and make sure they align when you're sewing them. And now we're going to match these raw edges up. They're the only raw edges you should have left. And I'm going to sew from this point all the way around to this point. And now you are all done with your beanie. Make sure to check out the other 2 videos in this series on how to make a knotted hat and how to make a fleece hat. Also make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!